What is the difference between Covered California and Medi-Cal? You've probably heard of both, but what is the real difference? There is a lot of confusion around this topic. So in this video, my goal is to try to create some clarity for you around these two programs so that you and your family can find the right coverage without having to spend all day and night trying to figure out which program is for you. I'll be going over each program, who qualifies, what to do when your income changes throughout the year, and also go over some common mistakes that people make when they look at applying for these programs. I'm Sebastian Vitig. I talk to people about their health insurance every day, individuals trying to find the right coverage, families trying to save money. I've seen what works, and I've also seen what can cost people big time. So Covered California is California's state-based health insurance marketplace exchange. Okay, so this is where we can shop for health insurance plans offered by private insurance companies. In California, we do not use the federal exchange, which is healthcare.gov. We do not use that. Now, on Covered California, you can find insurance plans offered by private insurance companies like Kaiser, Blue Cross, there's Blue Shield, Health Net, and a few more carriers that are going to offer you plans based on your zip code. Now, the main thing with Covered California is we can actually apply for a premium tax credit to help reduce the cost of our premium. And the premium tax credit, you can view it as like, if you're working a job, a lot of employers, they're actually going to help pay towards your health insurance. They're going to help pay towards that premium. But with the marketplace, instead of the employer paying towards the premium, it's actually the federal government that helps pay towards the premium. Now, when you're applying for the premium tax credit, they are primarily going to be looking at your income and your household size. And they also really want to make sure that you don't have any what's called affordable employer coverage. Because if you have what's called affordable employer coverage, then you will not qualify for this tax credit. With that in mind, a lot of people on Covered California, they are going to fall into one of these categories. They could be self-employed, maybe they're temporarily unemployed, maybe a gig worker or seasonal worker, but somebody who isn't offered what's called affordable employer coverage, which I will break that down in later videos. But for now, we're just trying to get a general grasp of Covered California. Now, if you are offered employer coverage, you still could qualify for a tax credit through Covered California, but it's just less likely. Okay, and at the same time, you cannot qualify for Medi-Cal and still get Covered California, but a little bit more on that later. And in regards to the enrollment periods on Covered California, you have to be within a certain enrollment period to actually hop on the plan. A lot of times you can't just hop onto a Covered California plan just because you want to. You have to follow their enrollment guidelines and enrollment periods. With the first enrollment period is going to be the open enrollment period, which is from November 1st through January 15th of the following year. So for example, if you're applying for 2026, you have November 1st of this year through January 15th of 2026 to find a plan next year. And this is when you don't need any special circumstance to enroll. Pretty much anybody can look at the plans, and a lot of them can actually just enroll into plans for the next year. But if you are trying to enroll outside of the open enrollment period, you need to have what's called a special enrollment period, which allows you to enroll outside of the open enrollment period. And to get a special enrollment period, you need to have what's called a qualifying life event, which triggers a special enrollment period. A qualifying life event, that could be something like you're moving within California. Maybe you're moving to California from a different state or outside the US. Maybe you're getting married. Maybe you and your spouse are having a child. And there are a lot more qualifying life events which trigger a special enrollment period, which allows you to get onto the marketplace outside of the open enrollment period. Now, that's just a general overview of Covered California. We're going to be going into a little bit more detail in other videos, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Now, Medi-Cal is California's state Medicaid system, so it's typically going to be for lower income individuals and families, pregnant women, kids, seniors, people with disabilities. Those are typically the people who have Medi-Cal. And in regards to the coverage for Medi-Cal, it's pretty much no-cost healthcare. Everything is just fully covered by the state and the federal government, and they just completely cover everything. There is more to Medi-Cal, which I'll cover in a minute, but the main thing we're going to want to look at is the income chart. And I'm going to put this income chart on the screen, and then we can review it together. I have it here put up on my laptop. But looking at this, so this right here, you'll be able to figure out if you qualify for Medi-Cal or not based on your income. So looking at the left-hand side of the screen, we can see household size. And then looking at the right side, we have all of the income. All right, these are the FPL percentages, the federal poverty level percentages. And the main thing is we want to look at the bottom, because at the bottom it says Medi-Cal for adults. You can see if you make anywhere between 0 to 138% of the federal poverty level, then you are within Medi-Cal's income guidelines for an adult. And if we look at the right of that, we have Medi-Cal for pregnant individuals and then Medi-Cal Access Program for pregnant individuals. So if you're pregnant, then you can actually make a lot more money and still be able to qualify for Medi-Cal. And then on the bottom of that, Medi-Cal for kids is 0 to 18 years old. So let's just say you're looking for your children. You can make a lot more money and still qualify for Medi-Cal, or they can qualify for Medi-Cal, your children can. You can make anywhere from 0 to 266% of the federal poverty level. So pause this video, take a screenshot, and make sure, or just take a look at this chart and see where you fall in terms of your household size. We're going to be looking at whoever's on your taxes. So whoever you fall on your taxes, that is what is considered towards your household size. And then looking at the income, this is the modified adjusted gross income. For most people, it's just going to be AGI, adjusted gross income. Yeah, so again, primarily Medi-Cal and Covered California, they both look at your income. So just use this chart and see if you qualify for Medi-Cal, see if you're able to get onto Covered California. And in a little bit, I do want to go over some common questions, very common questions people get about, mostly about Medi-Cal. They ask about Medi-Cal, but before we do that, let's actually take a look at a chart, a side-by-side comparison with Covered California versus Medi-Cal. So first off, the type of coverage for Covered California, that is going to be the Marketplace Exchange, state-based ACA, Obamacare exchange, we can call it. And then Medi-Cal is just California's version of Medicaid. In terms of the cost for Covered California, it really does vary. It depends on the subsidy that you're able to get. If you get more of a subsidy, obviously you're going to have a lower premium. So the cost really does vary on Covered California, really just depending on your household size, your income, and ultimately the tax credit that you guys qualify for. In terms of Medi-Cal, for the cost, it's free or low cost, right? It's funded by the state and federal governments, and you typically don't have any out-of-pocket costs for Medi-Cal. In terms of providers, so Covered California, you will use the insurance carrier's provider network. Blue Shield, Kaiser, you're going to use their network. Compared to Medi-Cal, you're just going to use its state-based, state-managed program where you use Medi-Cal's network. Okay, it can be a little bit more restrictive compared to Covered California plans in some cases. And then for the income range, again, if you are an adult, if you're making over 138% of the federal poverty level, you might be able to qualify for a tax credit on Covered California. And for your children, you do have that screenshot from previously in regards to the income chart. So take a look at that. Medi-Cal below. So basically, when we're looking at this with the income range, if you're going to be lower income, you're going to qualify for Medi-Cal. If you're more middle class or higher income, then that is when you can look at Covered California for yourself and possibly your children as well. And eligibility, both are based on income, household size. But Medi-Cal, there are other factors that they do look at, like disabilities and a bit more. But really, we're just trying to get a general overview of both. If you're on Medi-Cal or Covered California, it's very important to know this. But both programs, they really pay close attention to your income. And let's just say it's you and your children on Medi-Cal. And Medi-Cal, they want to recheck your eligibility for Medi-Cal. So they check your income, they do an income poll, and they see that, let's just say they see that your income actually is now higher than Medi-Cal's threshold to actually stay on Medi-Cal. What Medi-Cal can do is they can decide that, hey, you don't qualify for Medi-Cal anymore. We're actually going to switch you over to a Covered California plan. They can do that. So you want to make sure that when you're on Medi-Cal, you always want to make sure that your income is up to date. And if you think that your income is above the income threshold for Medi-Cal, then you're going to want to look at other options. You're going to want to look at Covered California, Maybe you'll have employer coverage offered to you. But basically, Medi-Cal is going to be able to see when you're making more than what they allow for Medi-Cal. Covered California, if you end up making more than what you project on the income, then you may have to repay some of the subsidies. All right, so now you know the difference between Covered California and Medi-Cal, but there are some very big changes coming to Covered California in 2026, which could completely spike the premiums next year. So make sure to watch this video so you can be informed about that.